Now this is how you do a remake. In Dawn of the Dead 2004, a nurse, a policeman, a young married couple, a salesman, and other survivors of a worldwide plague that is producing aggressive flesh-eating zombies take refuge in a mega Midwestern shopping mall. Welcome back to The Haunted Beard, everybody. My name is Jake. Thank you for joining me. So if you have been following along, I've been going through and reviewing George A. Romero's zombie films, and I've also included a couple of the remakes in this list here. And today, of course, I am on 2004's Dawn of the Dead, directed by Zach Snyder. This is, of course, a remake from Romero's film from 1978. And in this film, what Snyder does is he pretty much kind of ditches the social commentary that was present in the original film and instead kind of swaps that out for a much faster paced and kind of more action-centric zombie thrill ride. In my previous video, I reviewed the Night of the Living Dead remake from 1990, and I gave kind of my general thoughts and attitude towards remakes, which is kind of have two rules. Number one is something needs to be improved upon and done better. Number two, typically like to see a pretty significant change in the overall story structure. I don't want to see like a shot-for-shot remake. I want to see something a little bit different. Well, what I think Snyder does in this updated version is he checks both of those boxes, and I was a fan of that original film. There are some things here that I think are improved upon, and he changes enough of the story that makes this feel like a unique and different enough experience that kind of sets itself apart from that original film. And overall, I had a pretty good time with Dawn of the Dead. And if I could sum up my experience with this movie in one word, it would be fun. This is just simply a fun movie. This is kind of, like I said, an action-filled zombie thrill ride that is just a whole lot of fun to watch, and I had a really good time with this film. And while I'm not necessarily saying that this is a better film than the original version, but for me personally, it was a little bit more of an entertaining experience, as I like what Snyder does here with the pacing. The pacing of the film is better and it's faster, and again, it is more kind of action-centric. There's a whole lot more going on in this remake than there was in the original film. And I understand that was by design and really fit in with what Romero was doing in that original film. But for me personally, I like the kind of faster paced approach that Snyder gives us here in the remake. And I like the zombies in this better. And maybe it's just because I'm a younger guy and maybe I tend to gravitate towards more modern films sometimes. But I like the fact that you get fast sprinting zombies rather than the kind of slower, plodding along type zombies from the original film. The faster ones are just scarier. They're more intense, they're more frightening, and it just kind of helps elevate the overall experience. And it's really the pacing that is kind of the main overall highlight. I think that's the big improvement. And that really fits into how Snyder kind of changes up enough of the story structure. Yeah, the general kind of outline is pretty much the same. You got a bunch of people taking refuge in a mall trying to survive the zombie apocalypse, but he does enough differently within that structure that makes this thing, again, quite a bit of fun to watch. And it just creates a more engaging experience. There's just a lot more going on with more characters and more kind of situations and crazy sort of predicaments that they find themselves in, not only with relation to the zombies outside, but just amongst the group of people on the inside, as it just seems that there is something unpredictable or some sort of tension-filled moment happening at pretty much every corner. This film starts off extremely fast paced and just goes right from the get-go, much like that original film, which was one of the highlights for me. But this film also, it just goes. You're pretty much right in the middle of it, and everything kind of, blows up and all hell breaks loose within just the first few minutes. As Sarah Polley's character wakes up the next morning and her and her husband see that their daughter has turned into a zombie, and then it is off to the races from there. I like how quickly it starts off, and then 15 minutes into this movie, you're already at the mall. And so it's just moving. It's go, go, go. Not too long after they get to the mall, they run into the security guards who are already there. And you have this very tension-filled conflict that unfolds between the characters who've just arrived at the mall and the security guards who are trying to guard it and kind of prevent anybody from coming in. And then eventually there is this power shift change where the security guards get overthrown by Ving, Rhames and Sarah Polley and stuff like that.
Is there a holding cell in there?
Not too long after they're there, a brand new set of characters arrive as they have this tour bus that crashes into the mall. And so they have to go in there and kind of help rescue them and get them out of there and get them into safety in the mall. And so now you have this new cast of characters. And it turns out that one of them they discover is infected, and he happens to be a father whose daughter is there. And so you have this very kind of intense, dramatic moment as the daughter realizes that her dad is getting ready to turn into a zombie and they're going to have to shoot him right there. And then you have the pregnant woman with Mekhi Phifer and his girlfriend, and that whole scenario where he's trying to keep that in secrecy because he knows she ended up getting infected, and he's got her tied down to this bed in one of the stores in the mall. And then the movie has a freaking zombie baby in it, right? I mean, there's all sorts of just wild, crazy stuff that's happening. You've got another scenario where the power goes out and they have to go out into the parking garage to reset the breaker. Only, of course, they get attacked by the horde of zombies. And so there's just tons of moments like this tension-filled, action-packed, thrill ride type moments that, again, make this thing a whole lot of fun to watch. I also like some of the other little things that they did. I like the communication between Ving Rhames and the guy across the street on the roof, and they're kind of communicating back and forth on the whiteboard. Just kind of a little detail that I just liked and kind of appreciated was something a little bit different. I also, too, have to give a shout out to a couple of the musical choices that were in this film that I thought were just fantastic. And it turns out Zach Snyder is responsible for personally choosing both of them, even against the studio's wishes, and he just went with it, and I think he made a great decision. The first one is the Johnny Cash song that plays over the opening credits. Just freaking phenomenal. I thought that was just a great touch and fit in really well. And then later on in the film, you have this like ridiculous cover of Disturbed's Down with the Sickness, only it's sung like, I don't know who sings it, but it feels like it's, a Frank Sinatra style or whatever. I've never heard anything like it. It made me laugh because it was so kind of out of left field, but I just kind of liked it. It was something so unique and unexpected that I kind of appreciated it and thought it was pretty great. The film too also has some good characters as well, and just kind of entertaining and fun characters. They're not the most kind of in-depth or fleshed out characters, but they suit the film well for the type of movie that this is. And you get kind of a good mixture of just different types of characters and different types of personalities, which again kind of adds to the whole, internal conflict and tension that you get. And so again, there's good tension and conflict. Obviously, there's the threat that's coming from the outside with the zombie attack. But then when you get all these different types of people, confined to the shopping mall, tempers are going to flare and there's going to be conflict and tension. So there's a good mix of characters here. The only thing in the movie that bothered me is something that happens later on in the film where the daughter hijacks one of the vans, drives it across the street to try to rescue the dog in the gun and ammo shop. It's just idiotic and stupid. And because of her stupidity, characters end up getting killed and stuff like that. And so it's just like, a dumb decision made by a dumb character because she has to save the dog kind of thing. And so, you know, it was kind of annoying, but if that's really the only kind of major issue I had with it, that's pretty good overall. So also too, the film has quite a fun climax that is, again, kind of contributes to that whole zombie thrill ride feel, right? They get these 2 tour buses and they get them all armored up like it's something out of Mad Max, and they bust out of there to try to make a getaway and escape this place. And of course, there is just literally a sea of zombies that they have to drive through. And yeah, you get some pretty good stuff. There is a little bit of CGI here mixed in that isn't great, but that's kind of more of a nitpick. A lot of it here, like most of the film, is all pretty much practical stuff. So there's quite a bit of good kind of zombie carnage and violence and gore here to appreciate as well. I love the little thing that they did with the design of the tour buses, where they carve out the little slot in the side so the dude can stick the chainsaw out and, you know, cut through the zombies as they're driving down the street. That was a pretty cool detail. But anyways, a lot of fun, good climax, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I had quite a good time with it. So I think for me, Dawn of the Dead 2004, I'm going to give this one, I'm going to go 8 out of 10 for Zach Snyder's remake. This is quite good stuff. Like always, hit me up down below. I'm always interested in hearing your guys' thoughts on these. How do you like this one compared to the original? Which one do you prefer? Maybe what aspects do you like about the original, or which ones do you like about this? Would love to hear from you guys. So that's all I got for you. Thank you so much for watching. Greatly appreciate it. If you got anything out of this video, go ahead and do me a favor and do not click that subscribe button unless you want to be haunted by the beard.